doing, but it's compared to a multiple site, they're relatively easy to support in a way. It certainly isn't easy, but it's relatively easy compared to multiple sites. Everybody knows your individuals of your IT support team. There's a very personal approach to it, that sort of family feel. And there is often some good help desk systems, sometimes not, but it's very, very easy for your users to bypass them, and you'll all have a situation where you've got shouty people who tend to get things a bit quicker than the very pleasant people. They're the sort of things that go on, but fundamentally, you know, you're given, most schools are getting a decent level of service, they're happy, and everybody's, you know, it varies from place to place, and a lot of that's because of good individuals, not always because of good systems, good processes, and good approaches. There is some planning going on, but a lot of it's very fluid and often changes quite a lot. It can be quite a reactive IT provision, but generally everybody's quite happy and everything's good and there's not too many issues. Some of the challenges you've got, you know, the things that are going on, everybody wants an iPad, wireless things upgraded, but I've got no money. These are the type of things that are going on. So some of the problems we see, and these will happen, some of them will relate to these, some of them you won't have the problems, it varies site to site. SLT, curriculum and IT support are all pulling in different directions. You've got an SLT with an agenda, you've got the IT with an agenda, and you've got the curriculum side of things, and it's not all joined up. There's been a massive push over the last sort of 10 years to get as much kit as possible. So it's how we just thrown more PCs in, and there's been little thought or planning as to how, one, we're going to refresh them, and two, you know, do you use them efficiently? Infrastructure's never really been a priority for a lot of schools. It does vary massively, but there's a big problem with too many sort of individual systems being used and they're not joined up. So you'll have pockets of users using bits of systems throughout, and all these problems, when you try to look at getting things bigger, become bigger problems. There's often a lack of focus on the actual use of things and the requirements of use. There's just this massive drive. It's driven by the whole pupil number ratio thing. So you get things in classrooms, and it's a really ironic thing, and that training organisations, the school often probably is a bit light on training themselves. That's something that's often forgotten, and I'm pretty sure everybody in the room's got an issue with reducing budgets at the moment. So that's all underpinning all of these things that we want to achieve. So I'm sure some of you can relate to some of them problems, and some of you don't have the problems. Everybody's different. Big question: is it scalable? So is what you've got now scalable? How do you give your services scalability? So what do we feel is important? Number one, clear vision and strategy. Firstly, for a lead school, a trust school, but then trust-wide. You can kind of get away without this in a single site. This was some of but the moment you start to expand, fundamentally any cracks get bigger. So that clear vision, that joined up approach is very, very important. Consistency. Some of the stuff that we're talking about today isn't necessarily exciting. It's consistency, continuity that I talk about. It's really, really important. It's a bit dull, but it's so important when you look at scaling. Robust systems and process, that's some of the stuff Will's going to talk about. But there's a big shift change here. This is quite a key one. Is that as you start to go outside of one organisation into others, you become a service provider effectively. So you are effectively a service provider, and whether that be at an IT level or even, and I'm sure there's some of you in here have experienced this at a teaching level, a leadership level, where you are fundamentally providing services. It's a different mind shift to what you've traditionally, where you've just been focused on looking after what you look after, and yes, you're treating your users like customers to a point, but you are all the same organisation. When it goes out, it's much different. Budgeting becomes very important, and budget accountability. So it's one thing setting a budget; it's another thing looking back at whether you know how you achieved against it. So again, that's some of the stuff that Will can talk about. Continuity is everything in this scenario. Continuity is important anyway. It's something that we bang on about all the time, but it's really, really important that continuity. There's lots of ways of doing things with IT, but what you don't want to be doing there's three right ways. You don't want to be doing all three right ways. You want to be doing one of them, and you want to be doing that consistently. So that's the big thing that we'll push, and we sort of drive forward. And that's Simon is a big part of what we do around that. And it does make him a bit of a pain in the backside at times, but he's I'll show you something you deal with you've noticed. But it's massively important. So what risks? So you're all in a scenario potentially where you're either in a multi-academy trust, you're looking at providing services to other schools, you're looking at growing. What are the risks of doing this? So number one risk is you water down, and this is school-wide. This is you water down what is good across multiple sites. So you end up with something that is an outstanding service, and you spread that them good people across 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 organisations, and it's a tenth of what it was when you started, and you just end up everything average and nothing great. And so this is, and like I said, this is the same for your leadership, for your teachers, for your everything. But IT, what we're focusing on here, that's the same thing. Your personal touch will ultimately go a little bit. You can't be you can't see everybody all the time as a team. So, and if it's not done right, you will increase your costs. Your costs will increase if this isn't thought about. There's a lot of drive to sort of to get to a multi-academy trust or get to work with lots of schools to drive costs down. If you don't do it right, it'll put costs up because you'll end up with inefficiencies. You'll end up with multiple ways of working, and that ultimately will affect everything, and it will hit the core, everybody's core budgets to do the basics. And the other thing at the bottom, and this is the way that we're gonna talk about is making it manageable, because it is very, very difficult looking after a number of sites, and if the things that we feel, our opinion, that what we're going to talk about next, is kind of the only way of looking at it. There's lots of different ways within our way, but you've got to kind of get this right. You just become unmanageable. Everything becomes unmanageable, and it all you can just fall apart, and stress levels go through the roof. So, how do we help? So the first thing that we feel you need to do as a trust or as a school looking to provide services, you've got to define your core services. Now this is different for everybody, and typically this is a suggestion we've got on here, and every sort of trust or group of schools we work with are different. Yeah, perfect. Got a copy there. So we've got to define your core services, and this is different, but fundamentally we feel that your internet delivery is fundamental, and we'll go on to why. Your security, your safeguarded elements, so your filtering, your firewall, which you so far are going to talk about, all your way you look at your safeguarding as a whole, that's critical. Your email system, typically Office 365, probably most. There is some Google as well. You need a clear disaster recovery backup option. Licensing, which is a massive thing, and you support whether you include, which we'll talk about later, is your curriculum and your technical strategy, which Simon's going to talk about, and potentially your SIMS/MIS support if you're not with SIMS. That's a suggestion of your core services, but we feel you define them core services, and you get them nailed, you nail your sort of solution. So yeah, we define them core services, and we roll out that group trust-wide. And how big or small them core services are, we feel that you have to make them mandatory to every school that's joining the trust, or every school that is working with you. And it can be seen as a little bit big brothery, but we feel it's the only way of working. You've got to get that certain level of services pushed out across all your sites, because then you can that's your base. Once you've got your base, you can build from there. Now, I don't want to get too much into the sort of politics side of things, but obviously you've potentially got schools coming into a trust, or some will be forced in, potentially some will be coming of their own will. You do need to leave a lot of local identity, independence, But you can do that outside of your core services, so you can leave that in that sort of independence there. So, but and like I said, every sort of every group that we work with, this is different, and there'll be different elements make up. It doesn't really matter, you know. There's certain elements that have to be in there, probably like the internet and the way your support works. But you know, your SIM support, MIS, you might have schools with different MISs and all sorts of things. So you can dip in and out, but once you've set it, we feel it's got to be mandatory. The next sort of stage of this is a core shared infrastructure. So we've got our shared services, and I know we've got a mix of technical and non-technical people in the room. But fundamentally, every site needs to have an internet connection that's within the same network. In time we'll talk about that. The way you do your safeguarding, your filtering has to be consistent, as we talked about. That then gives you the platform where we can create one network effectively across all the sites. So you can create one identity, one trust network, one group network, whatever you want to call it. We typically have a lead site, and this is just normally because of the scale of it. It's normally a high school, not always, just because they tend to have bigger buildings, bigger server rooms, that sort of stuff. But not always the case. We put fundamentally a big server platform there, the virtual server platform, with some kind of server presence at each primary school, but very limited, or each remote site. And it does change. You know, one that John Robinson, who's not actually here today, where he was supposed to be coming, but John's one locally that has a mixture of high schools and primary schools and PRUs in his trust, and the way you treat each one of them is different. But it's fundamentally the same thing. We can look at a single Active Directory structure and a single managed wireless solution. So what does that mean? You know, what does all that mean? It means that your users have got one username and password, and we'll talk a little bit more about the way that works with Gavin as well, with IM Cloud. But you've got one username and password, and you go site to site. You work in the same way, so your senior leaders that are going from site to site, your IT support that are going site to site, their environment that work into, the wireless is the same. They just it's seamless. They log on. They use the same. The data follows them. They've got the data is where it needs to be. I mean, Simon will go more into the way that's structured. We've also got, we bring all the data back to the main site and then take it off for disaster recovery purposes. So all your data is secured, but we don't run backups as such anywhere else but the main site. So that's where some of the cost savings start kicking in. You typically host your MIS server at the lead site and distribute it to the other sites. We put a single Office 365 tenancy. So I don't know, I mean, we're not doing too much on Office 365 today, but there's a lot of the collaboration elements, the document sharing, the working in the Microsoft Classroom, OneNote, all the stuff that's going on around collaboration. To fundamentally get that to work properly, you have to have one tenancy, i.e. you have to be all joined up. So that's the sort of thing we'll put in. Single identity management, which Gavin and I want to talk about. And something else that we're seeing a lot of is I know a lot of you probably got inventory, and we work a lot with inventory. They're now your site access, so the ability to have one ID card, sign into each site, track where people are, to move into the new version of inventory that you've seen outside there. There's all of that side of things. So you tick a lot of safeguarding boxes there as well. But quite a full-on diagram. But you can see what you've got is your sites around the outside, all joined up, one private network. So the way to think about it is what we're saying here is you take your 6 schools, and it's like having 5 or 6 of however many buildings. So from a networking perspective, everything's like one site, but there obviously can be anywhere in the country. But from a user, it's like walking from building to building. That's where we want to get you to. So how am I doing time-wise? 50. Perfect. So the evolution of support for you as So what we don't advocate here is that we come in and we do I know we've got a few from Salford, we do like a Salford BSF type. We go in and kind of just take over, and that is we're exactly the opposite of that. The way we want to work is with your team. We work with your team and as part of your team, and that's different for every customer. But we want to do, our guys, the way we work culturally is to develop the people we work with. So all our engineers will sit down and quite happily work with the technical guys in the team, and that becomes the training and the growth that they get. Because we want you to be able to support, because we think that's what works. If you have, making a good team internally, supported by us in the background, is the sort of holy grail of the way that support works in the best way. But for the guys in the room that are in the support, there's quite a bit of development that has to go on. There's a little bit of a shift change. There's a lot more change from planning to a reactive. So it's a lot more proactive rather than reactive, because the problem you've got is you can't just try things, because it's just dispersed across 5 or 6 sites, and the pain is so everything has to be a lot more tested, a lot more planned, and that's again what Simon's going to talk about. So the things that we do now a lot more of is planning and design workshops. So we'll do a lot more regular workshops. So our support, rather than it being a kind of a break fix. See, traditional support is something's broke, bring us, but come and fix it. You know, you make a list, you know, and everybody kind of fixes it if you're doing any scheduled visits. And there is still an element of that, and that still goes on. The way this is really changing now because of the scale, and this is also to do with the increasing skill in the teams in the schools. If you go back 10 years, the level of skill within a team in a school would be a lot lower than it is now. So it's how it's ultimately how we've evolved as a business. But the workshops around design and testing, the IT management workshops that Will does around. I don't want to steal his thunder, I'll let him talk about it, but we talk risk documentation, planning, risk registry, budgeting, all that side of things. ICT vision and strategy, some of you have seen Helen Walker at our event. She does a lot of, she's coming from an ex senior leader in an academy and an academy trust. Helen works for us, and she'll do like your visioning workshops around how does pulling it all together, how does, you know, what does the thing I talked about earlier around the 3 elements of curriculum, leadership and IT, pulling it all together, getting a clear strategy. And then we do still do the break fix support, and that's still part of it, but it becomes less because fundamentally there's more skill in the teams here. So it's that evolution, but a lot more proactive and planned approach. This isn't the best slide, you can't really see it, but I can share this with you but it's around the way the cost set. So everybody's looking for cost savings at the moment. Everybody wants to save money. What we see a lot of is everyone wants to do cost saving by buying things in bulk, and yes, you do get some cost savings by buying things in bulk, but in the grand scheme of things, it's neither here nor there. If you bought 50 PCs or 500 PCs, you might save 1 or 2%. That's that, because everything's at the bottom. But where you get real savings is not buying things at all. That's where you get real savings in. So centralising your safeguarding solutions across the trust, and you might double the cost, but you've got 6 sites, so you're only 2/3 of where it was before. So that's where the cost savings kick in. Not doing things at all, not doing things twice is another side of things. So you've got that clear and consistent plan. You do things once, you do them properly. You don't do things twice, or you don't have people doing lots of things, and that's where that clear sort of vision at the start comes in. But we estimate that, and that's what that slide shows, is that a trust of 5 schools can typically save 25% on the core services. So that's a conservative estimate. It does depend on each site and the individual's situations. So what does it mean? Am I doing time-wise?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Are they here?
Yeah, innovation and growth.
Yeah, perfect. So what does it mean to an IT team? And some of you have probably seen me talk about this before, but it's an opportunity to grow and grow a team and develop skill sets. And being fairly it's a real struggle to get quality people, and whether that be for us, for anybody, good people are always in demand, and it's quite a buoyant jobs market generally at the moment in the UK. So how do you keep good people? So how does a school, a trust keep good people, never mind get good people? It's an opportunity to develop. Everybody wants to develop, everybody wants to achieve. So this thing is a great opportunity for people to develop and grow, and fundamentally you keep people engaged and working for you as a trust or a school. One of the challenges for the guys here is having more staff to manage, how you structure your team, and this is where particularly Simon can help out with some of the workshops, and Simon's built Virtue with myself from the ground up, so he's a lot of experience of work on this, so we can help out with that as well. Strategy and design is really, really important, as we've touched on, and continuity is massive. Communication, which is never natural to most IT people, sorry guys, but it's something that really you've kind of got to push on, because you're not seeing people, you're not seeing them in the corridor saying, hi, oh, my printer's broken, my PC's broke. You've got, the communication has to be much more formal, unfortunately, but it's got to be much more consistent, and it's much harder. So that's a big thing, and we'll push on. Finance. What does it mean to a finance? Continuity. When you've got a clear strategy and a plan, you've got a clear budget. So and I think if you speak to anybody in any financial position anywhere, what they need is they don't need anything that comes out of the blue. So if there's a clear plan and it's consistent costs, you can work with that. But there is savings, and I can sit here and give you all kinds of savings, but it does vary massively from side to side. What do you mean to senior leaders? You get a consistent and reliable service that can scale and support teaching and learning. A big thing now for trusts is how you market yourself. How do you get new schools? How do you keep the existing schools happy? It's a value add. You can make IT a value add. Particularly if you look at primary level, IT will be a massive pain point for most schools. You've got a value added service that you can sell as part of your trust. And then you've got that IT, that clear vision and strategy. You can walk into a site and they understand what you're trying to do with them. You can say, this is what we do, and it's clear. But the key thing is for senior leaders is that you can focus on what really matters, and that's teaching children. Because IT, like I've said quite a bit, the best possible point IT can get to is nobody says anything. So if we can get to that level, then we know we're kind of succeeding. So.